Here's a question that I was asked. It is a great question for a couple reasons. First thing is I have no number over here. And then the second thing that's going to happen is when I complete the square and I factor out my value of a, I'm going to get an odd value of b. So what do we do? Now the graphing is going to be a little goofy. So on a test, I'm not super concerned about graphing something like this because of all the fractions involved and the numbers are going to kind of go off of our basic grid. But we'll struggle our way through it here. So first thing I'm going to do is, like we talked about in class, I'm going to group the terms that have some sort of x, and that actually is the only two terms that I have right here. So there's no third term. Second step is I'm going to factor out that value of a. So here we go. I'm going to factor out the value of -7. So when I factor out -7 from -7x squared, I'm left with x squared. When I factor out the -7 of 21x, I have -3x, because negative times negative is positive. I'm going to leave a little space, then I have no number out there. So now here is the actual completing the square step. And just like we did with the numbers in class, I'm going to take half of the value of b. So half of -3 is -3/2, or -1.5. And when I square -1.5, I get positive 2.25, or I'm going to use a fraction, I get positive 9/4. So that's the first challenge, is I've got something that has a fraction, and I understand that gets a little scary and a little upsetting. Now, the next thing, because of the fraction, again, a little bit nerve-wracking, is I have to keep the function in balance. So how I've really changed the function, I know I've added 9/4 in the parentheses, but what I've really done is -7 times 9/4 by the distributive property. So that is -63/4. So in order to compensate for that, I'm going to add 63/4 outside the parentheses. So now let's go ahead and write this in our vertex form, which was the first of the tasks we were asked to do. So the vertex form is going to be -7. Then I've got x minus what times itself gave me 9/4. Well, that was 3/2 squared plus 63/4. So there's my vertex form. This, if you have a decimal, is 1.5. This, if you have a decimal, is 15.75. Now, I'm asked what the vertex is. Well, the vertex is basically just a summary of the shift. I've moved this 3/2 to the right, so the vertex x value is 3/2, and then I've moved this up 63/4, or 15.75, and there's my vertex. That's the second thing I was asked to do. Now, the third and final thing is to go ahead and graph this. So what I'm going to do, though, because my grid is a 10 by 10 grid, and this is 15.75, in the y direction, I'm going to make every mark 2 units. Okay, just so that we know each mark is 2 units, just so that I can go ahead and get this all on my graph. So the vertex is 1.5, so over 1 and a little more, and then 15.75, so close to 16. So that is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, and just a little bit under 16. So I'm going to make a dot right there. Again, this is just a sketch. Now, normally for our basic graph, we would go over 1, up 1, and back 1, up 1. But I have stretched this one by a factor of -7. So instead of going over 1 and up 1, I go over 1 and down 7. So I go over to 2.5, and then I'm going to go down 7. So 2, 4, 6, and then a little bit more is going to be 7, and a little bit more over here is going to be 7. So we know that the line of symmetry is x equal to 3/2. We see that we've got a maximum value of 15.75, and that is the sketch of this quadratic function.